We've talked already in this course a few times about learning words in context, so you should understand already why that's so important to learn in the situation, to learn in the sentence, and see how it's used so that you can actually use it yourself. But I want to give you a clear step-by-step way to do this with an example. So, like we did last time, let's go over a specific step-by-step process with a real word so that you can see the whole thing, so that you can take this and start using it whenever you need to learn a new word, whenever you need to learn an idiom, whenever you need to learn a phrasal verb. All right, so let's first discover our new word. We're going to encounter or come across a word we don't know. Now imagine you don't know this word even if you know it. This is the process that we're learning here. So this is our new word. Just imagine it's a strange one, even if you know it. Why would I work on this over the weekend? There is no incentive for me to do that. Okay? So, what we should do first, find word. All right, what is the word I'm learning? Here it is. Here it is. Now, look at the word in the context and try to see if you can guess what it means just by looking at it. Okay. Why would I do this? That means I'm not planning to, right? Why would I? Why would I? Means I don't want to, I won't. So there's some emotion there. There is no incentive, something, no for me to do that. I'm talking about something I won't do. Okay, so this is going to be related to actions, things like that. Now maybe we can just guess it. When you get really good at this, you might be able to, when you're reading or listening to people talk in a movie, just guess what it means and keep going and not have to look it up. And that's great. But it can also help to look it up and really learn it more seriously so that you don't just understand, so that you can actually use it, right? So we're going to try to find incentive. Now, found the word. Now we're going to search the word. We're going to search it in a dictionary. We're going to search it in an all-English dictionary. Which one? Well, it really depends on which one you like. My favorite dictionary right now is the Free Dictionary. And the reason it's my favorite is that it has the audio of words. You can listen to it. You can also, when you search a word, find lots of synonyms. Or you can search words by beginnings. You can say BRI. How many words start with BRI? So it's a great exploration tool. It also has wonderful examples for the words. One of the problems with a lot of dictionaries is that the definition may make you feel more confused. And then there are no examples. So how am I supposed to understand this word? So I like the Free Dictionary because generally the definitions are clear and, very importantly, the example sentences or the examples below tend to be pretty good. And it's one of the few places where you can actually find the definitions of idioms. You can search idioms, common phrases, you can search phrasal verbs, which is really amazing. There are so few places where you can find idiom definitions, and that is one of them. It's a fantastic tool. So we're on the search word stage. We search the word incentive, and we read the definition. This is not my definition. This is the definition. Something such as the fear of punishment or the expectation of reward that induces action or motivates effort. And if we don't know induces, it doesn't really matter because we might know motivate. Oh, motivate, I know motivate. Motivates effort. So that's helpful to have an or. If we don't know one of them, induces action, we might know the other. Motivates effort. So that's good. I think I understand the idea, and that does fit in with my understanding. Now, in this process, always go back to the original. So we read the meaning. We read the definition. Once we've got the basic definition, okay, I think I understand that, go back. Study this. Does it make sense? There is no incentive. There is no motivation that makes me want to do something for me to do that. Yeah, that makes sense? All right. Induces action, pushes me to do something, makes me act. No thing that makes me act for me to do that, yeah, this is good. So I understand it. Now, this one looks like it might be some kind of reward, like you're paying me extra money during the weekend to work. You're paying me triple. So yeah, I'll work over the weekend, of course, no problem, to make more money. But now we know from the definition, now we know that it may also be punishment. If I don't work over the weekend, I'll be fired. Oh, okay. Okay, I'll do it. Don't fire me, please. So even if we can guess it just from the context, it's still a good idea to look it up just because we might discover something new. We might discover something that this context didn't tell us. Oh, punishment or the expectation of a reward. All right, that helps me get a broader understanding of this. But now, very important, you have to read the examples. So you're always going back to the original, the place where you found it. Now, if it's a movie, that's a little harder to do, but maybe just remember what they were talking about, and that's okay. Read the example sentences, because that gives you an even broader understanding, a larger understanding of the usage. Remember, when we're learning words, usage is key. So next step, read examples. They have no incentive to get a job. They have no incentive to get a job. What would that mean exactly? Okay, maybe if they were homeless, they would have an incentive. Maybe if they were hungry and they had no food, they would have an incentive. But why do they not have an incentive? Well, maybe this is a kid who's 21 and his dad and mom give him all the money in the world. He has no reason to get a job because he never lacks for anything. Maybe they're bringing up this issue to him. You never get a job. Well, I have no incentive to get a job. Oh, okay. No more money for you. Go get a job. Now he has an incentive. He wants to hang out with his friends. He wants to eat. He wants to take his girlfriend out. Now he has an incentive. All right. An incentive to work harder. An incentive to work harder. So we could replace that with what word? Maybe a reason? A reason to work harder? Motivation to work harder? All right, that's good. Now, does that have to be money? Well, this doesn't say anything about money here, so I guess not. It could be punishment, of course, but what might a positive incentive be? Maybe if I work harder, then people will see that I'm excellent and I can get promotions. Maybe I become a leader, or maybe the people in my team just respect me more. So it could be something that's very concrete or clear like money, but it could also be something like respect. I want respect. I want to feel good about my work. I have a sense of integrity, and if I don't work hard, then I feel bad about myself and I feel depressed. So my incentive is just that I don't want to feel bad about myself. Okay, so that means it doesn't have to come from the outside. It can also come from the inside, something inside me. All right, very good. There's little incentive to adopt such measures. Measures are things that we do, actions that we might take, perhaps rules that we would put in place. There is little incentive. Again, we could replace that probably with reason, little reason, or perhaps motivation. An incentive scheme. Now we're seeing it used slightly differently. There is little incentive. This is a what? This is a noun. An incentive. After and, that also has to be a noun. I have no incentive. That must also be a noun. So we're getting a lot of nouns, but now we're seeing it being used as what? Well, this scheme, this is sort of like a plan or maybe a system, something like that. If this is the noun, that means this is being used as an adjective. So an incentive scheme, an incentive plan, an incentive system. All right, we can use it as an adjective and it doesn't change form. So this is giving us a pretty good picture, a pretty good sense for how we can use the word incentive. We read the definition, we discovered it in the right context. Now I think I'm confident enough to try to use it. Last step, write examples. Now, how many examples do you want to write? I don't know, 3, 4, 5, if you want to get crazy, 10. I'm not going to tell you exactly how many you have to write. It depends on your time. It depends on how well you understand things. But I think one example is probably not enough. And 50 is pretty crazy. So let's make an example here. I'm just making my own example. I have an incentive to learn English. If I do, I can, this is a comma, not a period. If I do, comma, I can get a better job. All right, that's a J. I have an incentive to learn English. If I do, I can get a better job. If I do what? If I learn English. If I do learn English, I can get a better job. That's my incentive, okay? So that's a sentence. And I could do 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 more. And that's what you should do. I'm not saying you should do it with the word incentive. Maybe you already know the word incentive. But this is the right way. These are the right steps. And always be referring back to the original context. Always bring yourself back to the original place where you found it, because that's going to help you find a grounding, to help you root what you've learned in the context, and that's going to help you then, when you want to use it naturally. Now, some of you may want to do this in a more conversational way, by speaking, and I understand that. Sitting down, writing things on paper, it can be boring. Now, I'm not saying that's bad, I think that's great. But if you really want to do it in a spoken way, in a conversational way, by yourself, there is a way to do it, and it's always getting better and better. Speaking assistants, voice assistants, these are becoming much more popular, and each year they're getting better and better. Now they're okay, they're fine. You can't really have a natural conversation, but I'm sure in the next 5 to 10 years, it'll be like talking to a real person completely, which will be, by the way, a great way to practice your English, of course. But you can do this now for what we just did in writing. If you have a voice assistant, whatever it is, ask it to define the words that you want to know. So you're learning something, you're reading something, and instead of going to a website or the dictionary to look it up, just ask, and then listen to the answer. And then, very importantly, ask something like, could you give me that word? Could you give me the word, for example, incentive, in a sentence? Or could you use incentive in a sentence? And sometimes the assistant will even recommend a sentence that you can listen to hear the context. So it may not be as in-depth, but it is a quick and kind of fun conversational way to get the meaning of words, to understand words better. I actually use that function very often, and it's a cool way to practice your pronunciation as well, because if you don't say the word correctly, they might not understand. So how about we give this a try? Hey Google, what does the word incentive mean?
Incentive is used as a noun to mean a thing that motivates or encourages one to do something, similarly to inducement and motivation. Do you want to hear incentive used in a sentence?
Yeah.
Here's an example of incentive being used in a sentence. There is no incentive for customers to conserve water. Do you want to hear how incentive is spelled?
No thanks. So you can see that's it. I mean, that's pretty simple. My assistant asked me if I wanted to hear incentive in a sentence, and I just said, yeah. So that's great. But if my assistant didn't ask that, I could ask the question. And you can explore language this way. I'm not saying it's better than looking it up in a dictionary. I'm just providing you another way to do it, which might be more fun and maybe more interesting, especially if you're in a hurry or you're not in the mood to write things down and look things up. It can still be a good way to do it. And in fact, it is the way that I usually look up words. I don't often go to the dictionary and search them. I usually just ask, then I know what it means, and then I'm done. It's pretty simple, and it's improving all the time. Now, in this course, we've talked a lot about movies and TV shows, but we haven't gone through a specific step-by-step process for how to use movies and TV shows and, for example, videos online, TED Talks. TED Talks are, by the way, a great way to work on your English, a fantastic way to learn about a large variety of subjects. We haven't really focused on the specific process, have we? So let's just do that. This should all feel pretty familiar to you. I just want to make sure we go through it so that you have a clear path forward, so that you know exactly what to do and how to practice. Now, let's first just quickly distinguish between watching casually and watching as a project, because they're really different. I'm not telling you that every time you watch a movie or a TV show in English that you have to be learning very seriously. Now, watching casually in a relaxed way for fun, you'll pick up things, you'll learn culture, you might pick up some pronunciation, a few idioms here and there, but it'll be somewhat passive. And by the way, that's fine, enjoy yourself. We can't be totally focused and serious all the time. But this is when you want to learn as a project. I am going to sit down and learn, and I'm going to use this thing that I'm watching, this TED Talk, this video, this TV episode, this movie, whatever. I'm going to use this as a project right now to improve myself. That's what we're talking about here. And those are two very different things. Casual and project, very different. So the first thing you do is choose one thing that you're going to learn from. Choose a, for example, learning episode or movie or TED Talk or video somewhere on the internet. Now, I would recommend choosing an episode over a movie just because episodes are shorter. They're just shorter. You can repeat them more times. You have to watch a whole movie many times. That feels like a huge project. It may be a little tiring. Now, it's fine to do that, but I think episodes are good. And videos, if you want to do one that's a little quicker, videos are great too. But you have to choose the right one. If it's very easy, then you're probably not going to get much from it. If you understand 95% of it, or 90%, or 80% of it, it may be too easy for you. So you have to choose something that is challenging. Now, what is challenging? Well, this kind of depends on your tolerance for pain. If you want to choose one that's really difficult, you only understand 20%, go ahead, try it, see what happens. You might like the challenge. Some people like that kind of thing. Like reading very, very difficult philosophy. I have to read this page 30 times to understand what's going on. All right, maybe that's a little too difficult. So when you watch the first 10 minutes of it, you should understand some of it. You should know kind of what's happening. It shouldn't be too easy. It shouldn't be too hard. It should be challenging. That's the best word. You should have this uncomfortable feeling of what? Of uncertainty, of what did he say? I didn't catch that. I didn't quite get that. Having this uncomfortable feeling can be a good thing. It means we're at the edge of our skill. We're at the edge of our knowledge. If it's too uncomfortable, then we might feel overwhelmed. Oh, it's too difficult. I don't get anything from this. How can I benefit? Yeah, too difficult. That's like trying to walk up a cliff. You can't walk up a cliff. I want something difficult. I want exercise, but I can't walk up a cliff. Okay. All right, well, what if it's here? Well, I don't want to just walk on flat ground. That's not very interesting either. I want some exercise, but it's got to be in between these two. So it should feel like a brisk uphill walk. Yeah, this is kind of tough. Oh, this is getting a little difficult. That slightly uncomfortable feeling, that's what we want. And it will change over time as you get better, of course. If you go to the gym, you need to slowly increase the weights that you use over time because you're getting stronger. Same thing for English, same thing for comprehension, for learning words and phrases, for learning pronunciation, for developing your ear. It's the same basic thing. So try to use your discomfort to judge what is right for you. Now, once you've chosen what you're going to study from, this is your project. This is your learning episode. You're no longer using it for fun. You're using it to improve. Maybe you enjoy it as well. You should use one that you enjoy. That's probably good. Then you won't hate doing it. Okay, but We're being serious here. Now, if you want to use English subtitles the first time, I think it's okay. It's okay. If you want to try to challenge yourself even more, great. But I think the first time, to make sure you understand what's going on in this episode, in this video, TED, by the way, you can get a full transcript of it if you want to. A movie you can watch with subtitles. It's, again, okay to get the main ideas and to help you write things down, to know exactly how something is spelled. For example, what is this idiom? Oh, there it is on the screen. I can just write that down. That's great. So it's fine. Just make sure they're English subtitles and not subtitles in your language. Do not use subtitles in your language. That's not going to help you. That might confuse you more. It could, because the quality of subtitles varies. Maybe it's missing some key cultural point. It may be missing something. Maybe the translation just isn't quite right. We're going to try very hard not to have translations. So use English subtitles if you use them. So you're watching it with English subtitles and you stop it as often as you can. Every time you come across or find something that you're not sure about, a phrase, a line of dialogue in the movie. What did he say? Oh, okay, let me write that down. I don't know that. A cultural reference. Somebody mentioned something. I don't know what they're talking about. I'll go look that up later. I'll look it up online. Great. Write it down. Take notes as you watch, and don't be afraid to pause as often as you need to. That's good. You should. And as you go, just take careful notes. Write down words, write down idioms, write down those culture points, anything you come across, which can include pronunciation. Ooh, that's an interesting way to pronounce that. I didn't know that was pronounced that way. Just write the word down, whatever it is. Hamster. I don't know why. Hamster. And then look it up and listen to the pronunciation and practice it and do the shadowing method. Do the shadowing technique. That's great. Okay, so we're learning. We're using the movie as a book, except we're getting even more because we can hear it, we can see it, we can feel the culture and the situation. Once you've looked up everything that you wrote down in your notes, you should have a much better understanding of the movie. You should have a better understanding of the references that were made. You should have a pretty good understanding of the idioms that were used, and you should know how to use them because you learned them the right way through example, by making your own examples. You should feel pretty confident about all of this stuff you wrote down. Okay, now I know. Now I know. Now what should you do? Watch it again, but this time watch it without subtitles. Now you have no reason for subtitles because you've already written everything down, probably. Maybe you write down a few more things the second time. That's fine. That's okay. But you should have written down almost everything you needed to with the subtitles. Now you're looking at the context. Oh, there it is again. I know what that means. You're seeing it in action, and you're forced to understand everything through here, not through here, which is very important. Remember, we want to bring our listening skill, our comprehension through our ears up to the same level as our reading comprehension, right? So watch the movie the second time, watch the movie the third time, however many times to watch it until you feel you are at 100% comprehension. You've watched it 4 times, 5 times, 6 times? I understand this 100%. I know exactly what they're saying. And my listening is getting better. And I understand culture a little bit better. And I know all these new words and idioms. I feel a lot better about this episode. I got a lot of knowledge out of this episode or this video or this movie. Now, maybe you just want to do videos at first because you want to repeat it many times, and that saves time because a video is only 10 minutes. It's okay. Whatever you choose, just make sure that you like it and make sure it's the right level of difficulty. Then once you complete this process and you feel that you have that 100% comprehension, move on to the next thing. Choose another thing as a project. Make sure it's the right level of difficulty. Go through these steps again with that one. So you have these learning movies, learning episodes, and that then gives you the freedom to be able to still watch TV and enjoy it, to still watch videos and enjoy it. You don't have to be on all the time. You don't have to be focused 100% of the time. And you can't expect yourself to learn everything from casually watching a movie or casually watching an episode of a TV show. Enjoy yourself, great, but make sure you have a project to work on as well. And you will improve your listening, you're going to improve your pronunciation, you're going to learn about culture, and if it is something you enjoy, you're going to be entertained. And as you do this more and more, your sphere of knowledge and of skill is going to grow until this stuff in the 20% becomes pretty easy. It's going to continue until your knowledge of the culture is just good. Your listening comprehension is just good. Your knowledge of words and idioms and phrases is just good. Now, maybe this doesn't directly translate to you speaking very well. So you have to make sure to work on the other things that we are talking about in this course as well. Because often, knowing things and understanding things doesn't mean automatically that you're a good speaker. That's true. But this is a very, very important part of the whole equation, of the whole of being a very fluent English speaker. So pick your first project. I can't tell you which one you should choose because we're all at a different starting point. As long as you enjoy it and as long as you feel this slightly uncomfortable feeling of this is a little difficult, it should be okay. Good luck, and I'll see you in the next lesson.